Hey there, this is Mark, and I am stealing the Business of Unicorns podcast intro mic because I want to tell you about an exciting event coming up on October 22nd, 23rd. That's a Friday, Saturday. Michael Kier and I are doing, once again, for the first time in over 3 years, Inside the Unicorn. This is our 2-day deep dive into the glittery innards of Mark Fisher Fitness. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, and we're excited to show you the exact plays that we use in Mark Fisher Fitness that have been responsible for lots of awesome things. And we will also, in our typical transparent fashion, show you the painful scars on our knees from the things we've learned the hard way over the past 10 years and hopefully save you some time and energy and money. Now, what's awesome about this event is we're hosting it from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on this Friday and Saturday, the 22nd, 23rd of October, and it's happening over Zoom. That's right. That means this is a virtual event. You don't need to fly anywhere. You don't need to get a hotel room. You can watch it from the comfort of your home, your living room, your office, your bathroom, in the unusual event in which for some reason you chose to watch there. It's your business, really. It's none of mine. And we are so excited to share this with you because we have a lot of amazing updates since the last time we did this. And not only that, but people that sign up for this course not only get access virtually, they will not only get a video of the course if they can't attend all of it live, but they get exclusive 90-day access to Unicorn University. That's our online learning platform that will let you check out any of the courses we've done over the past several years of Biz for Unicorns. We're covering topics there like time management, the client experience, building a team. I'm very excited about this event. You are not going to want to miss it. Go ahead, click the link below or go to businessofunicorns.com/inside-the-unicorn, and we'll see you in October.
Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of Business for Unicorns podcast. I'm here with Fisher today, and we're bringing you a bonus episode. So get ready for a bonus.
We are. Welcome back to the podcast. Did you miss it?
I have. I really miss having these conversations with you because we talk about some of these things, but I feel like capturing some of these conversations makes it feel just like a little bit more real.
Yes.
And it feels like a little bit more like either important or like memorable to like have something be recording you talking.
I always sound smarter when other people are listening.
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, let's see if today pans out the same.
We'll see. Press our luck here.
Yeah. So we're talking about what to talk about today. And this idea came up, and I don't think we've ever talked about this explicitly, especially in this format, which is the idea that so often as business owners, we feel stuck in working in the business every day, especially a lot of entrepreneurs we talk about is every day we're just like in it. We're in the game, working hard, working long hours. And we all know, kind of many of us, I should say, know the value of stepping out of the quote grind and stepping out and looking big picture of the business, stepping out and working on the business instead of in it. It's a common phrase we use as entrepreneurs. And very few of us seem to have a discipline to do that on a regular basis. Very few of us seem to have a method for, or a habit of stepping out of the business on a regular basis and reflecting on how the business is going, reflecting on your behavior and actions as a leader, reflecting on how you're thinking about how you think, thinking about how you feel. And that's something that Fisher and I have a pretty good habit of. I can say personally, I wish mine was maybe slightly more consistent, but pretty good habit of. And every time we've done it, it's been so valuable. In fact, it's something we help people in our Unicorn Society group do at our retreats on a regular basis. And so we thought we should talk about that. Let's talk about the value of doing it. So let's just start there. Let's sell people on the idea of taking time to step out of the business. So what's your pitch there, Fisher?
Yeah, I don't know how you are able to get anywhere worthwhile unless you are paying attention to where you want to go and where you currently are, right? Because it's just another fancy way, I think, of describing whatever this process of reflection is. And there are a number of them, and there are ones you can do for your personal life. There are ones you can do for your business. But I think whether you do it once a month or once every 3 months, dedicated processes that allow you to step out of your life and reflect and get honest with how you're feeling about things are going, uncover maybe things that have been bubbling up that you haven't had time to sit there and process and unearth. I think that kind of process is invaluable. And again, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But one of the things that certainly we try to do with the Unicorn Society. And I think is the benefit, frankly, of working really in any sort of formalized coaching environment. Certainly, it's something we discussed before in this podcast that is part and parcel of the small group forum and the entrepreneurs organization, which is something that, Michael, you've been a part of and I continue to be part of, is not just the systems, not just the frameworks, not just the powerful open-ended questions that inspire you to think, but the accountability to do it. Because I think that's the thing that's often missing is if you don't have some external system that creates the discipline to do this on a regular basis, invariably, even though this is arguably the most important thing, whatever these processes are kind of the first ones to go.
Yeah. 100%. I think I find that to be true. Anyone who doesn't have, is either not working with a coach or a coaching group or some accountability group or, entrepreneur group, that it's so hard to in yourself find the discipline to take time away from the business, to schedule an hour or 2 hours once a month or once a quarter to just go and think.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but then to have some structure to the thinking, as you mentioned, some framework that helps make that more likely to produce a beneficial result, because I think any sort of reflecting and daydreaming and thinking can be useful, but if you're going to invest the time, I know most of us want to make sure that it's going to be time well spent. Yeah. So we'll talk about strategies, but I'll just share just anecdotally that every time I've taken time to do that, I come back to work the next day, the next week, feeling different. Mm-hmm. It does totally change my mood, my outlook. It changes some of the stories I'm telling about my work. I come back a little more optimistic sometimes, a little more positive. Once in a while, I come back from a moment like that feeling maybe a little bit more overwhelmed or daunted. It's not always positive, but for me, more times than not, after taking time to step away from my work, reflect on how I think, how I've been performing, what I want, how things are going, I come back feeling better about things. I come back feeling clearer and more focused. Has that been true for you, Fisher?
Yes, certainly. And I think particularly when the reflection process is married with some kind of what do I do now planning process.
Yeah.
So it's part of what we love about the quarterly planning we do, both with Unicorn Society members and also the planning we do at MFF, is part of this sitting out of the game for a moment, and part of it is reflecting, again, clear on where are we now, what's been going on, how are we feeling about it, what do we want to do next, and then importantly, that ideally also needs to become actions.
Yeah.
So I think it's Gary Vee is the metaphor about the clouds and the dirt. So some of this probably needs to be about the clouds, needs to be about the big picture, and then for me, certainly, and I suspect this is true probably for a lot of people listening, part of what makes me feel better after this, even if there's a lot more going on than I was cognizant of, is because I've had time to process and organize all of the things into, in some cases, quite literally daily, weekly, and monthly action steps. So then at least I feel like I know I have a game plan of what's going to happen when, instead of a discombobulated, jumbled list of things that I have the vague, uneasy sense isn't even the complete list. So as I'm fond of saying, a to-do list that doesn't exist in time is a recipe for making you miserable and sad. And I think this process at its best allows you to organize your life so that you have some clarity on what's going to happen when, and then you can run the play that you've created.
Yeah, for sure. I bet there's probably several sports analogies we can use here. I don't know that we're the people for that, but
probably
I imagine
not the people for the sports analogies.
But I imagine, what came to mind as you were talking,
you dance the choreography just as the choreographer created it.
Yeah, but the analogy that came to mind as you were talking was this is why sports teams go watch videos of their games, right? To step out of the game and then go watch it and be like, how did that go? Individually, collectively, all that, and then you go back with improvements. And I think this is what we're saying, to be explicit for listeners, is that we want you to step out of the game and go watch the tape, once a month, once a quarter, at least for a few hours, and be disciplined about it. And then let's just talk a little bit about what are all the ways you could spend that time, because there's an infinite number of ways you could organize that reflection. I'll start with some simple ones before we get into the more nuanced ones. But quite simply, you could use that just to journal. Right? You could just use that to write down, just journal, just stream of conscious. How's the last 30 days been for me? How's the last 30 days been for the business? The other thing you can do that's really big picture is to have a buddy you do this with. right? You just sit down and have a conversation with someone once a month, once a quarter for a few hours, where you just do the same thing you would in a journal, but out loud, and just be in dialogue about what went well, what didn't go well, what I've been thinking about, what I've been feeling, just big picture. But there's lots of other more nuanced, more structured ways to do it. So what are some of those, Fisher?
Another example, and this is what we do in the Entrepreneurs Organization, is when we take this time once per month to step out of our life, step out of our business, and create our monthly update, which we then share in the small group forum. There are a number of prompts that we use. So very specifically, what my forum is currently using, and I would note briefly, I think all of these processes need to evolve and change over time, because as usual, you're looking for the balance of some stability and also probably enough variety that things are changing, they don't get stale over time. So what we're currently using is a PDF with maybe 40 to 50 prompts. And they are things like a moment where I felt powerful was, or something that is giving me energy, or something that I should start doing but haven't is ... And there are 40 prompts that, upon reviewing them, can bring to awareness things that you think are important to share as you look over how this last month went. My particular process when I do that, this is getting very granular now, but usually when I'm preparing my update, the first thing I do is I will quite literally look through my calendar over the previous 4 weeks and really think through each day, each week, and think, when did I have lots of feelings? When were things going really well? When was I feeling really sad? When was I feeling really frustrated? And then I will double check that with the prompts, because sometimes I think of other things through that. And then usually in a given month, there are, I'd say for me on average, maybe 2 to 8 high level topics. And the way this is approached in the EO, which is probably good best practice, particularly if you're doing it on your own, because then you're not even having to disclose to other people, is you're looking for what we call the 5%. And this means the 5% top most amazing things and the 5% most challenging things. So you're not looking for fluff stuff when you're preparing these updates. And I would note another thing that's interesting that we do in the Entrepreneurs Organization, and potentially you could replicate this perhaps with a buddy of some kind, is not only do we prepare the update for our once a month meeting that we have every month like clockwork, and this forum is in its 15th year now, but we even do a coaching of the update before the forum. So you find a time to get on the phone with a buddy to review the update with each other and push each other and challenge each other to go deeper, to make sure things are clear, and to really make sure that when we prepare that forum and update, we're really able to share what's actually going on in our heart and in our life. And I would say, on the one hand, if you don't have to disclose things like this, if it's purely internal in a journal, there probably are some benefits to that. It can be a little more self-directed. You might feel a little safer being even more candid because it's not for consumption with other people. And I would note, part of the process, I think, of healing, of working through things as a human, is massively expedited and facilitated from the power of attention from other people. And it is a cliche, but a true thing, that it's often the things we are afraid to say out loud are the things that hold our power. So finding space, support system, whether that be in a coaching group or with a one-on-one coach, a dear friend, a therapist perhaps, I think is a very important part of dealing with your head stuff, which I would note is worth doing even if you're just obsessed with money. And in that case, you're probably not listening to this podcast. But even in the unlikely event that's all you care about, it's mostly a head game. Leadership is an inside job. Your ability to be effective at running your business is mainly going to be constrained by our success or inability to manage ourselves, manage our emotions, manage how we're looking at the world, and manage our energy levels, which of course are then themselves massively impacted by our emotions. Because if we're not in a good place, it's hard to get a lot done, right? It's hard to get out of bed, let alone get a lot of things done. Yeah. And if you're able to consistently find processes that allow you to heal yourself, to reflect, to move through things, to feel your feelings, you're just going to have more energy, you're going to have more stamina, and frankly, you're going to get more done and outwork people.
Yeah, that's well said, Fisher. Yeah, and I'll just underscore a few things I want to make sure our listeners got that you said there. One, I think, is the 5% is really useful. I mean, if you're going to take the time to step away from the business and really reflect on how it's going, look for the big things, right? I mean, what I mean is like the things that really matter most, the things that really give you the most positive or the most negative feelings. Those are the things you really want to draw your attention to and unpack and explore more. And I also love the idea of using some prompts, right? It's just, a good question goes a long way to helping you explore in a new way. And so you can find a million one prompts online, email us, we'll send you some. But any prompts that help you dig a little deeper are useful. Doing it with other people is hugely important, as Fisher said. So I think those are all really important takeaways. I'll give like one more example of how you might structure this. If you don't do prompts, with like a ton of open-ended questions like the ones Mark mentioned, you might want to also just consider different categories of your life that you want to reflect on. And this is a common format in entrepreneurs groups as well, which is you might want to think about, okay, clearly I want a business category. Or maybe I want to divide that up. I want a business category that's like, my leadership team and everyone else, right? Or you want another category that's personal. And maybe that personal category is, my partner is a category, my family is a category, my community is a category. You might want a category for spirituality. You might want a category for health and wellness, right? So even if you don't have prompts, thinking about what are the areas of my life I want to regularly reflect on. And then your prompts for that is just cool. In the last 30 days, for example, what was the best moment I had in that category and how did it make me feel? What was my worst moment in that category and how did it make me feel? And even just that level of structure, which is very little structure, right, goes a long way to helping this feel like a productive use of your time, where you come out the other end having your thoughts better organized and maybe even your feelings better organized. Because we know that when we can label our emotions, they lose a little bit of power. So you can come with a word for our emotions. It's really valuable for us. And not only that, we come with a word for our emotions and then organize our thoughts around it. That's even more powerful.
Yeah.
And so again, it doesn't take much structure. You don't need to join a group unless you really want to. There's benefits, of course, but you can do this on your own with just a piece of paper and a pen and still get a ton of value out of it.
Yeah, I'll offer one more resource if you want to go down the rabbit hole of prompts, and specifically if you're looking for things to facilitate deeper thinking about your business. It does seem to be the book of the moment, and there are some good things out, so that makes perfect sense. But Keith Cunningham's book, The Road Less Stupid, is precisely that. And for anybody that read this book or if you're familiar with Keith Cunningham's work, a lot of it is about taking regular thinking time from your business to just sit and think and write. And the book is organized into a bunch of chapters that cover a topic, and then each of them end with a bunch of prompts. So if you're looking for a big resource, and if you want to, this could be something you do at least once a week. Maybe you get bold, you do it every day for 15 to 30 minutes, and you sit there with those questions. And then the process, I want to offer one other thing, is it can be, I think, challenging for some people, and I'm one of them, because my brain goes too fast. And I have the good fortune of being old enough now to understand that's going to happen and sort of stop myself before I thwart myself yet again, because a lot of this will seem so simple that you might be tempted to say, oh, it's so simple, I don't even need to do this. And I think you're missing the thread if that's the case. But I want to acknowledge lots of times, a lot of these exercises don't look like rocket science on paper, and they can be deceptively powerful because they don't look that sophisticated. They don't require cleverness. They just require time and attention and a willingness to dig. Incidentally, I would also note that that's been one of the things we've been working on this quarter after our most recent quarterly planning, was making sure everybody on the leadership team takes thinking time. And as for this conversation, everybody had a list of questions that they had to take away with. And the full disclosure is we're figuring out. Some of them have been finding it very valuable, some of them not so much. So this is not only a thing I think that is important for you to do as a leader of the organization, but if you work on a team and you have other people that you expect to think like a leader, to think at a higher level, and they're not just pushing paper, so to speak, inviting, or in some cases holding them accountable to have these thinking sessions where they're not working in the business and they too can think a little bit more strategically about their life, their career, the business at large, can be a massively valuable thing. And what I promise you is you might know it's going to be hard enough for you to have the discipline to do that as a leader of the organization, that to not only convince and hold accountable, but make sure that your leadership team knows it's okay to do this, I think is something that's very important for you to have conversations about as the leader.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll just add one more thing that came to mind as you were talking, which is I don't know that I felt great at this when I first started doing it. Specifically when I first started having like planned thinking time around my thoughts when we first started Entrepreneur Organization years ago.
Mm,
When I first made my first few updates and wrote down, things that were going on in my life, I didn't find it useful right away.
hmm.
It felt like busy work for me the first handful of times. I was like, I already know what happened in my life. Why do I need to write it down?
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and then what I realized over time was that there's a lot more fluctuation and variety in what's going on in my life, what I think the highlights and the lowlights are. There's a lot more
Mm,
fluctuation in how I feel about things over time, that my
yeah.
feelings about things that happen change over time. And I wouldn't have gotten the benefit I've gotten if I didn't do it as consistently for as long. And it felt more and more useful the more I did it because I just got more in touch with what really mattered. I got
Yeah.
more and I got better able to use the lingo from earlier, better able to get to that 5% of like, oh, what am I really caring about right now?
Hmm.
And kind of, and shoo away all the nonsense. I got better and better at digging in deeper and having that learning really stick for myself. But at first it took me a while. So I just say that as an experience shared to say like, hey, if first you start doing this, it just feels really dumb, just keep
Yeah.
doing it. Just like keep doing it. Give it a few months. If you're doing it once a month, give it at least 3 to 6 months. You have to do it at least 3 or 6 times before you let yourself say this isn't for me.
Yeah.
It
Totally.
just it takes a while. Yeah. Anything else to share on this topic to help people kind of get started trying this out, Fisher?
No, I think this is great. I mean, if we were to give you maybe one thing to take away, I think if I were coaching you right now and we were having a chat, would be to take 30 minutes sometime in the next 7 days, put in your calendar right now while I look at you and schedule it, make it important. My suggestion is for many of you, it's going to be best to do in the morning. This is probably not the best thing to do while brain drained at the end of the day, that you can decide where it fits in. But to take the 30 minutes to think about your business and just write on paper. And if necessary, we obviously gave you a number of resources and a number of prompts that you could use. But I would encourage you to try it. And I guess I would like to echo one more time Keith's point, which is you might not be great at this in the beginning.
Yeah.
So give it a try. It might be something to take some time to really get your arms around and see the value. And I will also reiterate again, one more time, this can be something that becomes really, this benefits from having some external accountability, because even now I understand the value of it. And without fail, every month, I do not want to do this when it's time for me to write my update. And that is not because I don't understand the value, but because I got a lot of things going on, but I don't have an option to not do it because this is what we do every month.
Yeah.
So, and invariably I always feel better, and invariably I'm relieved and so happy I did it. And it is amazing how virtually without fail every month I'm like,
Yeah.
oh crap, should I even keep doing this? Maybe I should leave the EO. This is a lot of work. I have so much going on. So you
Yeah.
can do it. You can make time for it. It's worth it.
100%. And just like all the clients we work with, it's very easy. We see our clients all the time push aside the things that are their self-care, right? The things they know are best for them, the eating and the exercise. And this is just, the mental self-care, the psychological self-care that we need as entrepreneurs. And it's got to be a priority. So yeah, put that on your calendar right now. And if you need help with prompts or help with the structure, more ideas, just email us, mark@businessofunicorns.com, michael@businessofunicorns.com. We're here to help. We're here to help. Well, thanks, Fisher. This was a great conversation. A little heady for us, but I think still very action oriented.
It was. I hope actionable. And we talked about that before we got on this call to share this with you all. Is we didn't want this to feel too abstract, and hopefully you're leaving with some things you can actually do. Because my dream for you is this doesn't feel heady, that this becomes an actionable part of your life that gets you better results.
Yeah. So go start scheduling shit.
Do it.
Schedule your first one for the next week, and then go schedule some for, at least 30 minutes, 1 hour every month for the next few months. Just go schedule it and then promise yourself you'll do it. And if you need help, we're here for you. Awesome, Fisher. Have a great day. We'll talk again soon.
Farewell.
Bye, everyone. Hey friends, before you go, just one more thing. If you enjoy this podcast, you get value out of it, you enjoy listening, please share this podcast, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. We don't spend any money on marketing or advertising. And so the only way people find out about this podcast is from you. So please do everything you can to share it with friends and fellow colleagues in the fitness industry. We love making it, and we want to keep doing it for a long, long time. So I appreciate your support. Go have a kick-ass day. Bye.